Hello, accountability buddies. I'm Les, and this is another episode of Less is More Healthy. On my way to work, it's kind of a gray, kind of dismal day. We've had a string of gray, dismal days in a row. I'm hoping this weekend is going to be a little warmer. I do fortunately have some um, warmer cycling tights, so hoping that's gonna keep me warm this weekend. So I want to talk about disappointment and lack of disappointment in this episode. So, in my last episode, I talked about riding my age and the Ride Your Age challenge. So, Ride Your Age challenge is somewhere around your birthday, you ride the number of miles of how old you are. So, in my case, 48. So I had decided I was going to do a 48-mile ride over a couple of days. I made myself a couple of different routes and just really thought like, yeah, I can hit 48 miles pretty easily, see some cool scenery and yeah. And then I got up that morning um super late and I decided not to follow the planned routes and to instead um, just kind of random the ride, which is kind of like I call it a random ride or a random ramble where I just kind of like I'm going to make left turns, I'm going to make right turns, I'm going to go straight as often as possible. I'm going to start out from this route and do this. There was one particular thing I wanted to do. There is a canal um, for my city and a neighboring city, and it I thought it was decommissioned. It is currently in use. I was not aware of that when I headed out. Um, it also has former railway that was along it. So yeah, I just was like, it's like a mile and a half little stretch of canal road and canal routing. So I headed out planning on looping around to that, getting some roads in that I've never ridden before. Some of them I had ridden, which was interesting. I recognized them from rides from last year, which is kind of interesting to see. Um, but I got to the canal and you can't ride it. It's no trespassing. So it is labeled no trespassing as part of the water supply. It is an active canal. Um, I'm not going to admit to any wrongdoing here. You can watch the last video. Um, Super beautiful area, lots of cranes and herons in that area. Um, just really beautiful area. That's out in Wenham. And there are trails that are legal for people to ride and walk on nearby. So there is a canal area that you can walk and ride. Um, so keeping that in mind, I do want to go back out and ride some more of the hiking trails on the bike. And yeah, kind of looking forward to that. So I randomed out the ride and I left super late. I left at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I realized like a few hours into the ride, I was probably not going to hit 48 miles. 5 o'clock rolled around and I realized I still had another 15 miles to go. And I just needed to head home at that point. I had already started to head home around 28 miles. Um, I knew I didn't have another 20 miles left to go. But had it been earlier, I just would have looped over and gone through Salem to get those last 10 miles. So, yeah, I was like, I did that. And when I saw the Komoot and Strava results of like 37 miles, I expected to be really disappointed that I had missed it. But 37 miles is actually a huge accomplishment too. Like I feel really good about just deciding to randomly ride 37 miles and 15 miles of it was stuff I'd never ridden before, which I think is super cool. Getting those extra miles in was just really great. So my plan for this weekend is to get in the 48 miles. It's still in my mind within the time frame for riding my age. It does make sense to go ahead and attempt to complete it. I am going to go ahead and set up a new 48-mile route because I've ridden a little bit from both of the routes that I had set up. And I don't really want to repeat a route so soon after doing it. It's just that gets a little boring. Yeah, there are some routes that I ride pretty often, like the rail trail 127 out to Manchester by Essex by Manchester by the Sea. Um, and out to Manchester. Like those I ride pretty frequently because they're easy and I know like all right, I want to get an hour-long ride in. I'm going to ride out to Manchester by the sea and grab some sandwiches on the way home and it's a good ride. It's a great ride. It's got just enough hills to be a little bit of a challenge, but it doesn't take you hours and hours and hours to do. So, really fun ride. Anyway, I want to do something pretty different. So I think what I'm actually going to do is do a route. I've done some of it before. So I think I might actually just head kind of northwest from my house and see how far I can get safely and head towards like some cities that I know so that I can um, just kind of experience the 48-mile ride. Also, I'm not going to challenge myself with a lot of elevation on this ride. What I really want to do is just get those miles in. Like the whole point of a ride your age challenge is to ride the miles. Um, whereas, you know, I have been attempting to add more hills to my rides because that's really good for my cardio. Um, but I expected to be really disappointed in myself. I was like, like why don't I feel disappointed? And I realized 37 miles is a huge accomplishment, but also like I know I can complete it. I know I can do the 48 miles. I've done more than that repeatedly. And so my plan is to just do it this coming weekend. And maybe I'll feel more disappointed if I fail again. And I really look at like failure as a place of what can I learn from this issue? What can I learn from this problem? And so the thing that I'm learning from this particular problem is if I want to do a 50-mile ride, I got to get my ass out of bed um early. Like I need to um get out of bed early enough that I can do a nearly 50-mile ride in a reasonable amount of time. So I'm going to be getting up at 6 in the morning on Saturday and hopefully out the door by 8 a.m. And I know that for some people, that's not a super early ride. For me on a Saturday, that's early. I am not someone who is out of bed super early on a Saturday. I mean, I'm usually up around 6, but I'm sometimes tossing and turning and trying to go back to sleep. Um, yeah, not an early riser. I'm more of a night owl than I am a early riser. So, uh yeah, my the challenge for this coming week or for this coming weekend, which will probably have already passed for y'all, is to get out of bed early enough to make this ride happen. Because one of the reasons I couldn't finish the ride is because when I hit like 28, 30-ish miles, I realized that it was much later than I thought it was. I didn't realize I didn't get on the road until 1-ish. Um, and so when I got back to my city, it was 5-ish. And I only had 11 more miles to go. And, you know, dusk is hitting earlier and earlier. And the loop that I would have had to have done to get that last 11 miles in was it would have taken me through some sections that aren't quite as safe, and would have been dangerous to ride at dusk. There's this section that I would have returned home on would have like didn't doesn't have great shoulders in part of it. There's a lot of twists and turns, so it's just a little rough, little dangerous. So I just decided I'm not going to do it, and I'll do it next week. So that's where I'm at. Planning on doing the Ride My Age challenge next week, because I failed, and I feel okay about failing because I learned from it. And some of that learning is going to get me motivated and out of the house sooner so that I can make this happen because I really want to make it happen. It looks like I'm probably not going to get my century ride in this year. I'm also feeling okay about that too. Like there are a bunch of things that have made it so that I'm just less able to train for that currently. So yeah, I'm thinking about all of these things and how I can make them happen either just upcoming. How can I make this happen in the future? So, yeah, I'm going to say thank you for being here. I appreciate all of the support, comments, the likes, and all of that. I appreciate you for all of that. And I'll see you next time. Thanks and bye.